Every country keeps a scoreboard, and almost all of them count the very same thing: money, output, growth, the size of the economy measured as GDP. Bigger numbers mean success. Smaller numbers mean something has gone wrong. It's so universal we rarely stop to ask if it is the only thing worth counting. But high in the Himalayas, one tiny kingdom quietly asked exactly that. Bhutan, tucked between India and China, keeps a very different kind of scoreboard. Instead of measuring only wealth, it also tries to measure happiness. Not as a slogan on a poster, but as a real guide for how the country is run. They call it gross national happiness. And for over 50 years, it has shaped nearly every big decision here. It sounds almost too gentle to be a serious national policy, but the idea behind it is serious, careful, and surprisingly practical. The story starts in 1972 with a very young king. Bhutan's fourth king was barely more than a teenager when he took the throne. As his country opened to the modern world, he made a striking declaration. Gross national happiness, he said, is more important than gross domestic product. It was a quiet challenge to how the whole world measured progress. He worried that chasing growth alone would trade away everything else that mattered. Culture, community, nature, the calm texture of an ordinary good life. So happiness wouldn't be an afterthought here. It would be the actual goal. And this wasn't only talk. Look at what the country actually did. Bhutan's constitution requires that most of the land stay forever forested. At least 60% of it by law for all the generations still to come. Today the forests cover even more, around 7 in every 10 acres. Those forests help make Bhutan something almost no other nation is. It absorbs far more carbon than it gives off, a rare carbon-negative country. Its capital, Thimphu, famously runs without a single traffic light. This is a place that decided on purpose to grow differently. So what is gross national happiness, really, beneath the lovely name? It isn't about everyone smiling all the time. That would be silly. It's about balance, making sure progress doesn't quietly cost you your soul. The idea rests on 4 pillars, each one holding up the others. Fair and honest government, so people can trust those who lead. Development that lifts everyone, not just the lucky few. Care for the culture, so modern life doesn't quietly erase who you are. And protection of nature, treated as something you belong to, not something you own. Those pillars branch into 9 areas the country actually keeps track of. Health and education, of course, but also community and peace of mind. Even how people spend their time and whether they feel truly connected. Bhutan sends out long surveys to measure all of it, again and again. Real questions, real data, feeding into real government decisions. New policies are weighed against happiness, not only against profit. And some of the results are genuinely moving. Healthcare in Bhutan is free. Education is free. Because a nation truly chasing well-being starts with the basics of a good life. Underneath, it all runs a deep current of Buddhist thought. Compassion, balance, and a sense that all living things are connected. An old Bhutanese saying puts the whole philosophy plainly. If a government cannot bring its people happiness, it has no reason to exist. That single sentence has guided this kingdom for a very long time. Of course, an idea this bold has to survive the real, complicated world. Take tourism. Bhutan could have chased huge crowds and quick money. Instead, it chose high value and low volume, fewer visitors, treated with care. Guests pay a daily fee that funds free healthcare, schools, and conservation. The goal isn't to keep people out, it's to keep the country itself intact. But it would be dishonest to paint Bhutan as a finished paradise. It isn't a fairy tale, and its own people are the first to say so. There's real hardship here, and poverty that took decades to reduce. Young people leave for jobs abroad, and rural and city life can feel worlds apart. Happiness as policy is an experiment, still unfolding, still imperfect. Yet even the skeptics admit it has protected something precious. Clean rivers, deep forests, and a culture that still feels like itself. And the wider world has started to listen closely. The United Nations drew on Bhutan's idea to talk about well-being and progress. Other countries began writing their own budgets around happiness and health. One small kingdom nudged a very large conversation. So step back and see what Bhutan is really offering the rest of us. Not a command to copy it, its path is its own, shaped by its mountains and faith. But a question, asked out loud, that most countries never quite dare to. What exactly are we growing for?
If the numbers keep rising but people feel emptier, what has really been won?
Bhutan's answer is to hold wealth and well-being on the very same scale.
To let forests and culture and time with family count as real success.
It's a reminder that progress is a choice, not just a direction. That a country can decide what it truly wants to protect, and then quietly build its laws around that promise. You don't need a throne to borrow the lesson. Now and then, it's worth checking your own scoreboard, asking whether the things you chase are the things you actually value.
Whether your own growth is leaving room for the quiet, good parts of a life.
Bhutan won't tell you the answer. That was never really the point. It simply proves the question is allowed, even at the scale of a whole nation.
One small kingdom in the clouds, measuring what most of the world forgets to.
And gently daring the rest of us to ask what happiness is really worth.